think that Xilonen blows all of her Geo characters out of the freaking water. So today, I thought it'd be fun to discuss why that is. My name is Juice, and let's get into it. I think the most logical place to start would be discussing just why Xilonen is utterly insane. First off, her buffs. 40% damage bonus plus all that res shred in her skill. Absolutely insane. Her buffing is equal to a 1000 EM Kazuha, which is a statement that I think I've said like 50 billion times by this point. And if you want to try her out, she's just come out on banners. Yet where can you go to afford cheaper Primo Gems to get her? Well, Loot Bar is here to save a day. Loot Bar is a fantastic service which can offer you cheaper Genesis Crystals and Stellar Jades compared to the official prices shown in-game. Take a look at this comparison between the cost of crystals from Loot Bar and then from the game's top-up store. If you're new, then you can claim a coupon which grants you an amazing 5% off, and the prices are up to 20% cheaper compared to the official channel. Loot Bar is an absolutely safe service, and has an endless amount of positive reviews. How can you use the site? Well, allow me to show you. First, input your UID. That's right, you need no login information whatsoever. Choose your desired package, and then you'll get your delicious Primos delivered to you. This is all legit since the site uses a VPN, which is how they cheapen the Primo Gems, and official top-up methods are used. Check out Loot Bar today to save on all your gacha needs. The cat is able to seamlessly slot into any team you desire, no matter what. As long as it's not an Animo, Dendro, or Mono Geo DPS, this DJ will help you lay down the beat on your enemies far more effectively. She has an insane team with Nervalette, which I like to call the Celestia Killer team. We all thought that the Hydro Dragon's downfall would happen in the Nation of Justice, yet it appears that this was far from the case. Because holy guacamole, this comp isn't messing around damage-wise. She also managed to help Navia reach new heights damage-wise. Sure, she may not apply Geo from off-field, but simply using your Navia burst later in the rotation solves such an issue when it comes to Crystal Shrapnel stacks. Yet, that's not all. Aside from being another S-tier support, the cat is also able to play as a main DPS. Her spunky animations allow for some solid Geo numbers, with this playstyle being so much more than a basic afterthought. Her kit has clearly been designed to support both primary ways of playing her with peak effectiveness. Plus, her being Geo is actually to her benefit, because now she can support all elements including Pyro, Hydro, Electro, Cryo, and Geo. Because she herself is Geo, one source sample is able to be Geo too. It's a splendidly cohesive kit that comes together in such an excellent manner. That's great and all, but what exactly made Geo bad in the first place? Besides, I have seen many make the valid point that Xilonen being Geo doesn't necessarily mean that the element is saved. It more so means that her independent kit is very powerful. Well, let's discuss that first point, then we can talk about how this DJ cat fixes things. There were a few issues. Being a totally inert element in a game about reactions is nonsense. It was doomed to be bad from the very beginning, unless they used some creativity for the kits, which I feel like they've been doing a lot more in recent times. Crystallize using Navia, Construct using Chiori, Cinder City, I mean Kachina, then the all-rounder that is Xilonen. Geo was far too archaic in the past, no pun intended I swear, with the archetypes of it being super predictable. It was always a mono-element setup or a shielder of some sorts. Zhongli has always been excellent after his buffs, and Noelle got saved by Farina, but all of the others, yeah, they're kind of cooked. Not being able to react with anything meant that the value of a Geo unit would solely rest on how good their individual kits were. Simply put, they were never excellent. Don't get me wrong, they function fine. Let's take a unit that I like, for example, Ningguang. She functions well. Nothing wrong with how she plays. It's simply a matter of her numbers being far too low to keep up with modern DPSs. Ito, for the longest time, was also pretty bad, being pretty much carried by Chiori and his Mono Geo teams. Yes, I know he got a new team, we will get onto that, don't worry. It never received any indirect buffs, it never got any special attention from Hoyoverse outside of that short-lived Geo Renaissance period from 2.3 to 2.4, and all the limited 5-star options pre-Fontaine were very outdated. I love Albedo to bits, he is awesome, I have him double crowned, I will play him even if he sucks. That doesn't change the fact that bro is a relic of the past. These are all a few of the components that harmed it so much. Sure, there is a powerful resonance, but with no good characters to really benefit from it pre-Fontaine, it was in a permanent state of being cooked. Okay, sounds pretty beyond saving, How in the heck can Xilonen fix all of these pressing issues? Well, she doesn't care about the element being fairly homogeneous, as much like Navia and Cinder Kachina, she flourishes in teams of all types. This means that she will retain high relevancy going into the future, as long as she's able to successfully react with elements in the team. Her kit is more than unique enough. It's really fun with a clean method of acquiring her buffs. By applying some creativity, Hoyo was able to cook up a Geo unit who has some seriously good things going for her thanks to how she functions. Source samples are such a neat way for a Geo unit to buff more than one element in their party. All relevant damage sources are accounted for res shred wise, and while she can play mono element, substituting her res shred for some neat burst damage, it definitely isn't her main gimmick. She wants variety. Sure, her crystallizes might not contribute much on their own, but her reacting is actually important thanks to proccing 4-piece Cinder City, solving the issue of crystallize sort of sucking. Besides, assuming you're playing support Xilonen, Geo application isn't the main quality that she deals in. She doesn't ruin any teams with an absurd amount of unnecessary application. Sounds bad for Navia, until you remember the burst later crystal shrapnel technique that I've already mentioned, so it's the best of both worlds. Her flexibility means that she will not easily grow stale in the meta like old 5 stars part of this once unfortunate elemental group. We love long shelf lives here. She was also able to breathe life into old units. Ito has a new team in Farina Yalan Double Hydro, being able to drive those two effectively thanks to Xilonen's healing. Sure, Goro and Chiori might not be there to help out, but the cat's buffing is so good that she helps make up for those losses quite well. This has finally offered Ito a new great best-in-slot team. Plus, all my regulars know how long I've been waiting for Navia to get a real dedicated buffer. Lads and ladies, it didn't ever have to be this good, but it was. Thank you, Hoyoverse, for allowing 1 million damage on C6 Navia to be real with consistency. Another thing is that she is coming after a line of the element's reputation improving over a period of time. Navia, the fantastic DPS, Chiori, who helped Ito out of despair, while also serving as Navia's best-in-slot secondary partner for a while. Kachina, who managed to become a wildly good pick simply by being able to effectively proc an artifact set for basically 0 investment cost, therefore 0 required commitment. And then you've got the Ocelot, who is genuinely an S-tier character meta-wise. I firmly believe that we need more characters that are as good as this, especially in the Geo element. No, I don't think that every single character needs to be equally as good as the very best. Some units are destined to be a lot better than others. Somebody like Arlecchino or Mavu Ika are obviously going to be a lot stronger than somebody who's more of a side character. But even so, every unit should be justifiable in terms of pull value. Geo has seen an uptick in good characters. Sure, a lot of people feel that this is simply a case of the individual characters being good. It isn't enough to draw up the whole reputation of the element, which makes sense, as after all, it's been so lowly regarded for such an absurdly long amount of time. However, if we get more characters that are individually powerful in spite of their inert nature, that could become the new trademark identity of Geo. Instead of being known as that group of characters which usually suck, but sometimes has a very rare banger, they could become units that trade their ability to react with sheer kit strength. It'd have to be done this way, as delegating it to being a more defensive option isn't going to track anymore. Farina has thrown us headfirst into the healer meta, and it's basically impossible to power creep Zhongli as the best Geo shielder. He is the Archon of his trade, therefore making him the best at it. So instead, I think a better method would be focusing on what makes it suck in the first place. Its inert nature, which inherently limits its potential. Now, there will be a lot of Mono Geo fans out there that enjoy the incredibly simple nature of a team, so I'm not suggesting that we completely abolish Mono Geo for good. More so, keep up with the cool units that are able to slot themselves into way more scenarios, being able to take use of other elements. There are so many ways Hoyo could explore this, as they've only scratched the surface by providing stat buffs like in Navia's case, or when it comes to kit functionality like in Xilonen's case. They could always get more specific by having units who want a specific type of crystallize, for instance. After all, remember how crystallize is actually an elementally aligned reaction depending on what you apply on top of Geo? You can see what kind you got by looking at the color of the shield that you pick up. They could easily do some fun stuff with that. Or how we've never gotten an Elu for Geo before. Modifying crystallize based on what kind of element you apply on top would be a really interesting way to keep things fresh. So when I say that we need more Xilonens, that doesn't necessarily mean we need a whole lot more amazing S-tier buffers. I think it's healthier for most new characters to be high A tier upon release for about a year, with the occasional S. That way, the absolute meta behemoths continue to feel special, with their releases still feeling exciting when they roll around. But rather, I think that Hoyo should continue to flex their creative muscles of geokits in the same way that they did with the Ocelot Lady, if they want to bring the reputation of it up more. Thing is, I've already been convinced. We've had 3 total banger units in recent times of Navia, Kachina, and Xilonen spread out over a long period of time. At what point do the characters stop being good independent of their element, as opposed to being a group of good characters that have a few benefits from it? Yeah, it's never gonna be amazing. Crystallize will always suck next to Swirl or Vaporize. But that doesn't mean it has to be permanently useless. After all, I'd say Navia's whole gimmick with the shards was pretty cool. So come on man, don't let us down Hoyo, and cook up some more bangers. I wouldn't be surprised if the next few Geos were total flops, with all of my hope then fading away. But I'm a Genshin Impact YouTuber, it's in my blood to be filled with copium plus unrealistic hopes. Jokes aside, it's pretty fun to think about. I think that a group of units who are good because of small quirks within their element, or perhaps units that are really strong in spite of their element to prove that you don't need reactions to be a strong character, would be really fun. It'd also encourage player creativity more. They could use these units to showcase more unconventional, albeit powerful ways to play. I do think that Xilonen could be the start of something wonderful here. Hopefully this video was able to tell you why Xilonen is the best Geo character in all of Genshin Impact. This has been Juice, signing out, and sure, you could play a meta Xilonen team, or you could sacrifice all her meta capabilities in favor of Mono Cat.